Elena Martinez had spent 5 years becoming invisible in Silverbrook, Colorado, and that's exactly how she wanted it. The small mountain town nestled between snow-capped peaks and evergreen forests, where everyone knew everyone's business, except hers. For 5 years, she'd run Mountain View Bookstore from a charming Victorian building on Main Street, selling novels and coffee to locals with hands that moved with practiced efficiency, never drawing attention to the small tattoo on her inner wrist that she kept carefully concealed beneath long sleeves or leather bands. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Every morning before dawn, locals spotted her running the same punishing route up Silverbrook Trail, maintaining a pace that would exhaust Olympic athletes. They called it Elena's ritual, joking that she must have been a professional athlete in a previous life. If only they knew how close to the truth they were. Elena was 35 but moved with the controlled precision of someone trained to navigate hostile environments. Her auburn hair was always tied back in a practical ponytail, and her hazel eyes carried a watchfulness that made people instinctively respect her space. She wore the same outfit nearly every day, dark jeans, boots, and various shades of blue button-downs with the sleeves always rolled down regardless of weather. A thin scar traced her jawline, barely visible beneath carefully applied makeup, but always there like a signature she couldn't erase. The townspeople had theories, of course. Some whispered she was escaping a failed marriage. Others suspected she was a former corporate executive burned out from the rat race. Old Pete at the diner swore she had military background, pointing to the way she always positioned herself with her back to walls and clear sight lines to exits. But Elena answered only what needed answering, maintaining an invisible barrier that said, "This far and no further." What they didn't know was what sat hidden in the basement of her modest cabin outside town, concealed by a false wall and sophisticated security system. Inside that hidden room, which didn't appear on any building plans, was a collection of specialized equipment that no civilian should possess: tactical gear, communications devices with military-grade encryption, and weapons, maintained with meticulous care. Etched into her wrist, usually hidden beneath a leather cuff bracelet, was a small tattoo: 7 stars arranged in the Big Dipper constellation, with the number 7 discreetly incorporated into the design. It was the mark of Unit 7, known in classified circles as the Ghost Division, an elite special operations unit that officially never existed. Every Sunday evening when the bookstore closed and the town settled into its weekend quiet, Elena would sit in that hidden room staring at a worn photograph, her fingers tracing the faces of 6 other women who shared the same tattoo. Her hands would hover over their images like she was reaching for ghosts, and for just a moment, the careful mask she wore would slip. In those moments, she wasn't Elena Martinez the bookseller. She was Captain Valentina Valkyrie Martinez, Unit 7's most lethal operative. On this particular Monday, storm clouds gathered over the mountains. Not just weather, but something that would shatter the quiet life she'd built. Elena was restocking the mystery section when she heard vehicles approaching, not local trucks or tourist SUVs. These had military-grade engines that purred with quiet efficiency and moved with a precision that made her blood run cold. She glanced out the window, wiping her hands on her apron, as 2 black government sedans rolled to a stop outside her shop. No markings, government plates. 4 men in suits emerged, flanking an older man in an army dress uniform adorned with general stars. She recognized him immediately, though she'd never expected to see him again, especially not in Silverbrook. General James Harrington, former commander of Special Operations Command and the man who had personally recruited her into Unit 7 15 years ago. The man who had pronounced the entire unit deceased after the Kabul disaster. They didn't bother with the closed sign. The bell above the door chimed as they entered, the general pausing as his eyes scanned the quaint bookstore with its reading nooks and local art displays. The suits spread out, taking positions that told Elena they were still active military, despite their civilian clothes. "Ms. Martinez," the general said, not a question. She didn't answer, just met his gaze with the steady calm she'd perfected over years of interrogation resistance training. His eyes flickered to her wrist where her sleeve had risen slightly as she shelved books, revealing the edge of the tattoo. The general froze, his professional demeanor cracking for just a moment. "I need to speak with you privately," he said, recovering quickly. Behind the counter, hidden beneath the register, was a panic button that would trigger a series of protocols she'd established for exactly this scenario. Elena's finger hovered near it as she maintained her cover. "I'm afraid I'm quite busy today, General," she said, emphasizing his rank with subtle precision. "The store's closed on Tuesdays if you'd like to come back tomorrow." Harrington stepped closer, lowering his voice. "We know who you really are, Valkyrie, and we need your help." The code name hit like a physical blow, but Elena's expression never changed. Some secrets she'd learned had a way of finding you no matter how deep you buried them, and this one had just walked into her bookstore wearing stars and knowing smiles. "I think you have the wrong person," she said quietly, but her hand had already moved away from the panic button. Deep in her mind, training protocols activated, and Captain Valentina Martinez, the woman who had died in official records 5 years ago, assessed escape routes, weapons accessibility, and tactical options. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Harrington nodded to his men, who moved to flip the store sign to closed and lower. "The blinds. I'm afraid I don't, Captain. And I wouldn't be here if the situation weren't critical." Elena's jaw tightened as she realized her carefully constructed life in Silverbrook was about to end. "You declared us all dead, made sure our families mourned us. Why resurrect ghosts now?" The general's name was James Harrington, and he carried himself with the confidence of someone accustomed to controlling rooms filled with more stars than his own shoulders bore. His team positioned themselves throughout the bookstore with practiced efficiency, not threatening but establishing perimeter control that spoke of serious training. "This is private property," Elena said, stepping out from behind the counter. "You don't have a warrant." Harrington reached into his jacket and produced a folded document. "National Security Directive under Executive Order 13-789. We're investigating a situation that requires your specific expertise." He glanced meaningfully at her wrist where the tattoo was now covered again. "That's quite a collection of books you've amassed here. Particularly fond of military history, I see." Elena's tension increased. She'd covered every angle, or so she thought. Her new identity had been created through channels so obscure that not even the CIA should have been able to trace them. But Harrington's presence meant someone had been watching, waiting. "I enjoy history," she said. "Many of my customers are veterans." One of Harrington's men approached with a device that looked like a smartphone, but was clearly military technology. He nodded to the general after scanning the room. "The thing about trained operatives, Ms. Martinez," Harrington said, "is they leave signatures, behavioral patterns, consumption habits, security protocols that civilians would never think to implement." He took a step closer. "Your cabin has more security than most government facilities." Elena felt the familiar weight of being hunted, the same feeling that had driven her to disappear 5 years ago. But this time was different. This time she had something to protect, not just her identity but the life she'd built in this quiet town. "You're fishing," she said. "Am I?" Harrington pulled out a tablet, swiping to satellite imagery of what appeared to be a disaster zone, a smoking compound in a desert landscape, bodies scattered across sand. 3 weeks ago, a terrorist cell in Yemen was eliminated with extraordinary precision. No survivors, no witnesses, no traces of who was responsible. He looked up at her. Except for this. The image zoomed in on a wall where a crude drawing had been left, 7 stars arranged in the Big Dipper pattern. Unit 7's calling card. Could be anyone, she said. Harrington's expression hardened slightly. The operative who did this knew. Tactics only taught to Unit 7. Problem is, Unit 7 was disbanded, all records sealed, and every member either killed in action or, he paused dramatically, disappeared. The silence stretched between them like a wire under tension. Elena could feel his team analyzing her every micro-expression, looking for the crack that would confirm their suspicions. There's no Unit 7, she said finally. Never was. Officially, you're right. Harrington put the tablet away. But we both know the truth, don't we? Captain Valentina Valkyrie Martinez? The name, her real name, landed like a punch to the gut. Valentina. Martinez had died in an explosion 5 years ago, erased from every database, every record, every official memory. Elena Torres had been born in her place, quiet and unremarkable. But now the past had found her anyway. Harrington stepped closer, lowering his voice. We're not here to expose you. We're here because there's a situation developing that only Unit 7 operatives can handle. I'm retired, Elena said, her voice flat. One of your former team members has gone rogue. Samantha Reeves. Call sign Phantom. Elena turned away, staring at the storm clouds building over the mountains. Send someone else. We tried. 2 special forces teams, both eliminated with extreme prejudice. Whoever this is knows our protocols, our tactics, and how to counter them. Harrington's voice dropped to almost a whisper. One of the operatives killed was Michael Chun. He was your recruit, wasn't he? Elena's shoulders tensed almost imperceptibly. Michael had been her protege, a brilliant analyst she'd brought into intelligence work when he was fresh out of college. More than that, he'd been a friend who'd helped her establish her new identity when everything went wrong in Kabul. Harrington noticed her reaction. He left a message before he died. Said if things went sideways, Valkyrie was the only one who could stop what's coming. Elena closed her eyes, feeling the weight of old loyalties and promises that she'd tried so hard to bury. Behind her, the bookstore sat silent, but watchful. Systems she'd integrated into the building's framework, monitoring every conversation, every heartbeat in the room. She'd prepared for this day, even while hoping it would never come. How did you find me? She asked. Harrington smiled grimly. Michael protected your location with everything he had. It was only after his death that we found a single encrypted file with coordinates. Silverbrook, Colorado. He said to look for the bookseller who runs military precision trails before dawn. The team began packing up their equipment, but Harrington remained watching her face in the fading afternoon light. We'll be at the military airfield in Colorado Springs in 3 hours, he said. Your choice, but if you don't come, more people die. And Phantom completes whatever operation she's running. As the government vehicles disappeared down Main Street, Elena stood alone in her bookstore. The storm moving closer now, lightning flickering over the mountains like distant explosions. Inside her cabin's hidden room, her tactical gear waited, and the ghosts of Unit 7 seemed to whisper from the photograph she kept locked away. For 5 years, Elena Martinez had been invisible, but Valkyrie was about to wake up. Elena stood in her bookstore for 20 minutes after Harrington's team left, mechanically turning the sign back to open, though she knew no customers would come today. Her mind raced through scenarios, contingencies, and the implications of what the general had revealed. Samantha Reeves, Phantom, the team's infiltration specialist and Elena's closest friend within the unit. They'd trained together, bled together, saved each other's lives in a dozen countries. The idea that Sam had gone rogue seemed impossible. But Unit 7 operatives were trained to do the impossible. The store's phone rang, jolting her from her thoughts. The caller ID showed unknown, but Elena knew better. She answered on the third ring, following protocol from another life. Mountain View Books, how may I help you? The blackbird flies at midnight, a distorted voice said. The first half of an authentication code she hadn't heard in 5 years. Elena hesitated only a moment before responding. But the owl sees in darkness. Secure line established, Valkyrie. You've been compromised. The voice was still distorted, but the cadence was unmistakable. Sam herself. Phantom? What's going on? Harrington says you've gone rogue. A bitter laugh crackled through the line. Is that what he told you? That I'm the bad guy? Classic. Misdirection. Don't trust him. Unit 7 was never disbanded. We were targeted. Someone's hunting us down one by one. Elena moved to the back office, activating jammers that would prevent any surveillance. Harrington showed me Yemen. The calling card. That was you? A trap. Someone's using our tactics, our signatures, to draw us out of hiding. 3 of us are already dead. Whisper, Shadow, and Storm. I've been tracking the kill team, trying to warn the others. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Harrington hadn't been recruiting her. He'd been hunting her. The rogue operative story was bait designed to draw her out into the open. Why now? Elena asked. It's been 5 years. Because of what we found in Kabul, Sam said. The evidence didn't die in that explosion. I kept copies. Files that implicate people at the highest levels of military intelligence in illegal arms deals, assassination programs, and worse. Someone realized those files still exist, and they're cleaning house. Elena moved to her computer, fingers flying over the keyboard as she accessed security systems at her cabin. Where are you? Can't say over this line. But I've left something for you. Storage Unit 217, Riverside Complex, your usual key. 24-hour window before it goes into lockdown protocols. The line went dead, leaving Elena with more questions than answers. She locked up the bookstore quickly, mind already shifting to tactical planning. If Harrington had found her, others might too. Her cover was blown, which meant Silverbrook wasn't safe anymore. The drive to her cabin took 12 minutes. 12 minutes during which Elena transformed from bookseller to operative. By the time she parked behind her modest home, her mind had compiled 3 escape routes, 7 potential safe houses, and a comprehensive list of equipment she would need. The cabin appeared untouched, but Elena approached with caution, using thermal scanners to check for human presence before entering through a concealed back entrance. Inside, she moved directly to the hidden room, pressing her palm against a section of wall that looked identical to every other panel. The scanner read her prints and pulse rate simultaneously, confirming she was both the right person and not under duress. The wall slid open silently, revealing her sanctuary. Unlike the warm, inviting aesthetic of the cabin, this room was stark. Military efficiency, weapons racks, communications equipment, medical supplies, and enough cash and documentation to create 3 new identities in as many hours. Elena pulled a duffel bag from under a workbench and began packing methodically. Clothes designed for maneuverability, weapons chosen for reliability, tactical gear selected for versatility. As she worked, she activated a secure terminal, pulling up everything she had on Unit 7's final mission. Kabul, 5 years ago. What was supposed to be a simple extraction of an intelligence asset had turned into a massacre when their position was compromised by someone with inside knowledge of their protocols. The official report claimed the entire team died in the resulting explosion. Only Elena and apparently Sam had made it out alive, each believing they were the sole survivor. The computer chimed, indicating a secure message. The sender was labeled only as MC, Michael Chun, his final communication set to deliver if he missed 3 consecutive check-ins. The message was brief. They found the Kabul files. Trust no one. Even the general is compromised. Elena closed her eyes briefly, allowing herself one moment of grief for her friend. Then she continued packing, adding specialized equipment she'd hoped never to use again: night vision gear, tactical communications, specialized ammunition. As she worked, she noticed a small red light blinking on one of her security monitors. Someone had disabled the perimeter sensors on the north side of the property. She checked the thermal scanner, 3 heat signatures moving through the trees with the disciplined spacing of trained operators. Not Harrington's team. They wouldn't have had time to organize a tactical unit. This was someone who had been waiting for the general to flush her out. Elena moved quickly, activating the room's self-destruct sequence. She had 8 minutes before the entire hidden section would be incinerated, leaving no trace of her equipment or identity. Just enough time to deal with her uninvited guests. She selected a sidearm, checked the suppressor, and moved to a concealed exit that led to a drainage tunnel beneath the property. As she slipped into the passage, she heard the faint sound of her front door being breached. Professional entry, no sound of splintering wood or breaking glass. Whoever these people were, they were good. But Elena Martinez was better. Because Elena Martinez didn't exist. She was a ghost created by Valkyrie, and Valkyrie had been trained to haunt her enemies. The drainage tunnel opened into the forest 50 yards behind the cabin. Elena emerged, silently, using the trees for cover as she circled back toward the intruders. Through her thermal scope, she could see them moving through her home with practiced efficiency. One in the main living area, one checking the bedroom, and one heading toward the hidden room. She recognized their movement patterns immediately. These weren't military or intelligence. These were private contractors, former special forces operators now working for whoever paid the highest price. The kind of deniable assets governments used when they needed something done that couldn't be traced back to official channels. Elena positioned herself behind the operator, who was approaching the hidden room. 3 seconds before the room's automated defenses would identify him as an intruder and respond with lethal force, she made her decision. She keyed her emergency transmitter, 3 short bursts that would activate protocols she'd established years ago. Then she moved toward the road where she'd parked a second vehicle behind a stand of trees, a nondescript SUV with false plates and a hidden compartment for her equipment. As she pulled away from the property, the cabin security system executed its final protocol. A series of carefully controlled explosions collapsed the structure in on itself, eliminating any evidence of Valkyrie while making it appear like a tragic gas leak accident. Elena Martinez would be presumed dead, giving her the cover she needed to find Sam and Uncover, who was hunting Unit 7. The Riverside storage complex was 30 miles away, on the outskirts of the next town. Elena approached cautiously, using counter-surveillance techniques to ensure she hadn't been followed. The facility was quiet at this hour, security cameras positioned exactly as she remembered from her previous visits. Unit 217 was located in the back corner, partially obscured by larger units and with clear sightlines to all approach vectors. Elena used the key she always carried, disguised as a simple charm on her everyday keyring, and slipped inside, closing the door behind her. The unit appeared empty except for a few ordinary boxes labeled books and kitchen. But Elena knew better. She moved to the back wall, finding the precise spot where the paint was slightly discolored. Her fingers located the hidden scanner, and a section of wall slid open to reveal a small cache of equipment and a sealed case. Inside the case was a tablet with biometric security. Elena pressed her thumb to the screen, and it came to life with Sam's face looking back at her, a recorded message. V, if you're seeing this, then you're still alive, and Harrington has made his move. I don't have much time, so listen carefully. What happened in Kabul wasn't an accident. We weren't extracting an intelligence asset. We were retrieving evidence of Operation Blackstar, a program run by elements within military intelligence to sell advanced weapons to non-state actors, creating conflicts that would justify American military presence in strategic regions. Sam's face was thinner than Elena remembered, her eyes haunted by whatever she'd been through in the past 5 years. The evidence implicates 12 high-ranking officials, including General Harrington. I've spent years tracking their operations, building a case that could expose everything. 3 weeks ago, someone leaked my location. They sent a kill team, the same one that's hunting down all remaining Unit 7 operators. They're using our own tactics against us, making it look like we've gone rogue to justify eliminating us. Sam held up a small drive. Everything is on here: operational details, financial records, names. I've hidden the original, but I've uploaded encrypted portions to secure servers that will automatically release to major news outlets if I don't. Reset the timer every 48 hours. It's why they haven't killed me yet. They need to find all the copies first. Her expression hardened. The kill team is led by someone who knows us, someone who trained with us. I think it's Aegis. Elena felt her blood go cold. Colonel Ryan Harris, callsign Aegis, had been Unit 7's handler and tactical advisor. If he was involved, it explained how the hunters knew their protocols, their hiding places, their very thoughts. I'm going to draw them out, Sam continued. Make them think I'm making a move on their next weapons shipment. When they come for me, I'll have evidence of their direct involvement. But I need backup. I need Valkyrie. The screen showed coordinates for a meeting point, scheduled for tomorrow night. If you don't come, I understand. You built a new life. But if you're still the woman I served with, the one who never left anyone behind. Sam's voice trailed off, and for a moment, the hardened operative facade cracked to reveal the friend Elena had mourned. I miss you, and I'm sorry for letting you think I was dead all these years. The recording ended, leaving Elena alone with the weight of revelation and choice. She checked the tablet's data, operational plans, security protocols, and intelligence on a weapons exchange scheduled to take place at an abandoned mining complex outside Denver. She had 24 hours to decide: remain dead and let the past stay buried, or resurrect Valkyrie one last time to save her friend and expose the truth that had destroyed Unit 7. As thunder rumbled over the mountains, Elena packed the tablet with her gear and stepped back into the night. The bookseller from Silverbrook was gone. In her place stood a ghost with unfinished business. Elena drove through the night, following back roads and switching vehicles twice to ensure she wasn't tracked. By dawn, she had reached a small airfield. Outside Boulder, where a man named Diego maintained a collection of aircraft that didn't appear in any official registry. Diego had been retired Special Forces, a pilot who had flown countless extraction missions before an injury grounded him permanently. Now he provided services to people who needed to move without being noticed, people like Elena, whom he knew only as V. Been a while, he said as she approached the hangar where he was working on a Bell helicopter. Thought you might be dead. I was, Elena replied, dropping her duffel on the concrete floor. Need transportation to these coordinates. She handed him a slip of paper with numbers written in her precise handwriting. Diego studied them, then nodded. Mining country. Rough terrain. When? Tonight. Need to be in position by sunset. He didn't ask questions, another reason Elena trusted him. The Bell's ready to go. Fully fueled, weapon mounts if you need. Them, communications scrub it after every flight. Elena nodded her thanks and moved to prepare her equipment. She laid out her tactical gear on a workbench, a matte black combat suit designed for maximum mobility and minimal signature, weapons chosen for reliability rather than stopping power, specialized equipment for infiltration and extraction. As she checked each piece, muscle memory took over. The movements were so familiar, it was as if the past 5 years had never happened, as if she had never stopped being Valkyrie. Her phone buzzed. A text from an encrypted number she recognized as one of Michael's backup channels. The message contained only an address in Denver and a time, 1400 hours. 4 hours from now. Elena finished her preparations, storing her equipment in weatherproof cases that would be loaded onto Diego's helicopter. Then she changed into civilian clothes that would attract no attention, jeans, boots, and a jacket that concealed her sidearm. "I'll be back by 2, she told Diego. "Keep the bird ready." The address led to a nondescript office building in downtown Denver. Elena approached carefully, using reflective surfaces to check for surveillance, noting security camera positions and identifying potential exit routes. The building housed various businesses, law firms, accounting offices, a tech startup. Nothing that screamed intelligence operation. She took the elevator to the 7th floor and found Suite 712, Pinnacle Consulting Services. The reception area was tastefully decorated, but empty except for a middle-aged woman behind the desk who barely looked up from her computer. "I have a 2 o'clock with Mr. Richardson," Elena said. The receptionist nodded and pressed a button. A door to the right unlocked with an audible click. "He's expecting you." The office beyond was spacious, windows overlooking the Denver skyline. A man stood with his back to the door, gazing out at the mountains in the distance. He turned as Elena entered, and she felt a jolt of recognition. Not Michael Chun, as she had half expected, but Thomas Wells, Unit 7's intelligence analyst, call sign Oracle. Like the others, he was supposed to be dead. "Hello, Valkyrie," he said quietly. "It's been a while." Elena assessed him quickly. He looked older, a streak of gray in his dark hair, lines around his eyes that hadn't been there 5 years ago. But his posture, the way he positioned himself in the room, that was pure Unit 7 training. "Oracle," she acknowledged. "You're looking pretty good for a dead man." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "I could say the same about you." He gestured to a chair. "Please, sit." "We don't have much time." Elena remained standing. "How do I know this isn't another trap?" "You don't. But Michael trusted me with his contingency plans. Before he died, he made sure I'd find you if things went sideways." Thomas moved to his desk and tapped a few keys on his computer. A display on the wall came to life, showing surveillance photos of military personnel, weapons shipments, and classified documents. "Operation Black Star," he said. "Started as a legitimate program to track weapons flowing to conflict zones. Somewhere along the line, certain individuals realized they could make a fortune by controlling both supply and demand." Elena studied the images. "Harrington?" Thomas nodded. "He's one of the principals, along with 3 Pentagon officials and several defense contractors. They've been orchestrating controlled conflicts in strategic regions for years, selling weapons to various factions, then securing lucrative contracts when the military is deployed to manage the resulting chaos. And Unit 7 discovered this in Kabul, not intentionally. We were sent to extract what we thought was a high-value intelligence asset. Instead, we found a whistleblower with evidence of the entire operation. When Harrington realized what we had, he ordered the site destroyed with us inside it." Elena remembered the explosion, the scramble to escape as the building collapsed around them. The silhouette was unmistakably military: tactical posture, methodical movement patterns, specialized equipment. A scout, probably part of the Black Star security team, patrolling farther from the main compound than Sam had indicated. Elena remained motionless, controlling her breathing as the figure passed within 15 feet of her position. Only when the scout had moved well beyond her location did she continue her advance, now with heightened awareness that the operation's security extended beyond the immediate compound. She reached Sam's position 20 minutes later, approaching from a direction that would conceal her approach from any perimeter guards. Sam was positioned behind a natural rock formation that provided both cover and a clear view of the mining complex below. "Took you long enough," Sam said without turning, her voice a mixture of tension and relief. "Had to take a scenic route. Your intel on their perimeter is outdated. They have scouts at least a mile out." Now Sam did turn, and Elena saw her friend's face clearly for the first time in 5 years. The physical changes were evident. A new scar along her temple, hair cut shorter than regulation, eyes that had seen too much. But beneath these surface alterations was the same person, focused, determined, loyal to a fault. "It's really you," Sam said quietly, as if only now believing that Elena had actually come. "In the flesh," Elena replied. "Though apparently we're both supposed to be dead." Sam's lips curved in a ghost of a smile. "Death didn't suit me. Too quiet." The brief moment of reunion passed as both women refocused on the mission. Sam indicated the tablet displaying the mining complex layout. "They arrived an hour ago. 3 vehicles, 12 operators as I mentioned. They're securing the main building and establishing defensive positions here, and here." She pointed to positions on the map. "The weapons are being held in this storage room, accessible through the main corridor or via the ventilation system I mentioned." Elena studied the layout, noting defensive weaknesses and potential extraction routes. "What exactly are we looking for?" "Prototype tactical drones with autonomous targeting capabilities. Officially they don't exist. The program was supposedly scrapped after congressional oversight raised ethical concerns. But Blackstar continued development off the books. These drones can identify and eliminate targets without human confirmation, using facial recognition and behavioral analysis. Perfect for assassinations that can't be traced back to their origins," Elena concluded. "Exactly. The buyers are a non-state group with ties to 3 different terrorist organizations. Once deployed, these weapons could be used against civilian populations, political targets, or even U.S. military personnel. And we have proof that Harrington and Winters are directly involved." Sam nodded grimly. "The operation is codenamed Silverback. Winters personally oversees the technical specifications, while Harrington handles the buyer relationships. The money flows through a network of shell companies that Thomas has been tracking. What we need is documentation of the actual exchange. Proof that links these weapons directly to Blackstar leadership." Elena processed this information, formulating a tactical approach that would achieve their objective while minimizing risk. Simply intercepting the weapons wasn't enough. They needed evidence that would withstand scrutiny and couldn't be dismissed as a rogue operation. "We need to modify the approach," she said finally. "Intercepting the weapons before the buyers arrive eliminates our chance to document the exchange. We need to let the transaction begin, secure our evidence, and then intervene." Sam looked skeptical. "That significantly increases our risk exposure. Once the buyers arrive, we're outnumbered at least 3 to 1. Which is why we don't engage directly," Elena countered. "We position surveillance devices to record the exchange, then create a diversion that forces them to abandon the weapons before the transfer is complete." The plan took shape between them with the practiced efficiency of operators who had worked together for years. Sam had already identified optimal surveillance positions. Elena contributed expertise on creating effective diversions without revealing their presence. "We have 70 minutes before the buyers arrive," Elena said, checking her watch. "Let's move." They descended toward the mining complex using a dried creek bed that provided cover from perimeter guards. The night had fully claimed the mountains now, and both women moved like shadows through terrain that would have been challenging for even experienced hikers. As they approached the outer buildings, Elena noticed something that heightened her concern. The security personnel were using Unit 7's own hand signals and movement protocols. Confirmation that they were indeed facing operators trained by Colonel Winters. "They're using our playbook," she whispered to Sam. Then we'll have to improvise, Sam replied, her voice hard with determination. They reached the first security checkpoint, a guard position monitoring the approach to the main building. Elena signaled to Sam, and they executed a coordinated takedown with practiced precision. No shots fired, no alarms raised. Just two guards quietly neutralized and hidden without alerting the rest of the security team. Inside the perimeter, they split up, Sam moving to position surveillance devices covering the expected exchange location, while Elena prepared their diversion on the opposite side of the complex. They maintained communication through subvocal microphones that transmitted whispers as clearly as normal speech while being virtually undetectable to anyone more than a few feet away. "Surveillance in position," Sam reported 10 minutes later. "I have visual on the storage room. 6 cases marked with Blackstar insignia. Definitely our targets." Elena finished setting the last of her remote-triggered devices. "Diversion ready. Timers set for your mark. Copy that." Moving to secondary position. Their plan called for them to observe the beginning of the exchange, record sufficient evidence to implicate Blackstar leadership, then trigger the diversion. In the resulting confusion, they would secure both the weapons and the documentation before extracting. Elena took up position in a maintenance crawlspace overlooking the main floor of the complex. From here, she could observe the exchange while remaining hidden from even sophisticated detection equipment. Through her scope, she counted 10 Blackstar operators in defensive positions around the central area where the exchange would take place. "Vehicle approaching from the access road," Sam's voice came through the comm. 3 SUVs, heavy security profile. "Our buyers have arrived." Elena checked her watch. They were early. "Confirm visual on command personnel?" "Negative." No sign of Harrington or Winters. That was unexpected. For an exchange this significant, Elena had anticipated at least one senior Blackstar leader would be present to oversee the operation. "Something's not right," she whispered. "Why wouldn't they be here?" The answer came moments later as the lead SUV stopped at the complex entrance. The vehicle's rear door opened, and a figure emerged, tall, female, with the unmistakable bearing of someone accustomed to absolute authority. "Visual confirmation," Sam hissed. "It's Winters. She's with the buyers." Elena felt the blood drain from her face. Colonel Catherine Winters, founder of Unit 7 and their former commander, was arriving with the terrorist buyers rather than overseeing the Blackstar operation. "Abort," Elena said immediately. "This isn't an exchange. It's a setup." Even as she spoke, the situation below erupted into chaos. The Blackstar operators suddenly turned their weapons on each other, half the team opening fire on their colleagues without warning. The survivors immediately formed a protective cordon around the weapons cases. "What the hell?" Sam's voice was tight with confusion. Elena's tactical mind raced to process what she was seeing. Internal purge. Winters is eliminating witnesses before completing the real exchange. The surviving Blackstar operators, now revealed to be Winters loyalists, secured the area with cold efficiency, checking each body to confirm kills. Winters herself entered the building, accompanied by 4 men whose bearing and equipment marked them as elite private military contractors rather than terrorists. She's selling to someone else, Sam realized. The terrorist cell was never the real buyer. "No," Elena agreed grimly. "This is something else entirely. We need to abort, regroup, and reassess." "Negative," Sam's voice hardened. "This is our only chance to get proof. I'm proceeding with surveillance." "Sam, don't." But Sam had already muted her comm. Elena watched through her scope as her friend moved with incredible stealth toward a position that would give her better angle on the conversation between Winters and the new arrivals. Below, Winters was gesturing to the weapons cases as one of her men opened the first container, revealing the sleek black drones nested in protective foam. Each was roughly the size of a dinner plate, with multiple rotors and what appeared to be advanced optical systems. "Confirm payment transfer," Winters said, her voice carrying clearly through the cavernous space. One of the buyers stepped forward with a tablet. "Confirmation code?" Valkyrie rising. Elena felt her blood turn to ice. Their code name, her code name, used as a transaction confirmation. This wasn't coincidence. Somehow Winters knew. They were here. "Sam, it's a trap." She hissed into the cum. The silhouette was unmistakably military. Tactical posture, methodical movement patterns, specialized equipment. A scout, probably part of the Black Star security team, patrolling farther from the main compound than Sam had indicated. Elena remained motionless, controlling her breathing as the figure passed within 15 feet of her position. Only when the scout had moved well beyond her location did she continue her advance, now with heightened awareness that the operations security extended beyond the immediate compound. She reached Sam's position 20 minutes later, approaching from a direction that would conceal her approach from any perimeter guards. Sam was positioned behind a natural rock formation that provided both cover and a clear view of the mining complex below. "Took you long enough," Sam said without turning, her voice a mixture of tension and relief. "Had to take a scenic route. Your intel on their perimeter is outdated. They have scouts at least a mile out." Now Sam did turn, and Elena saw her friend's face clearly for the first time in 5 years. The physical changes were evident. A new scar along her temple, hair cut shorter than regulation, eyes that had seen too much. But beneath these surface alterations was the same person, focused, determined, loyal to a fault. "It's really you," Sam said quietly, as if only now believing that Elena had actually come. "In the flesh," Elena replied. "Though apparently we're both supposed to be dead." Sam's lips curved in a ghost of a smile. "Death didn't suit me. Too quiet." The brief moment of reunion passed as both women refocused on the mission. Sam indicated the tablet displaying the mining complex layout. "They arrived an hour ago. 3 vehicles, 12 operators as I mentioned. They're securing the main building and establishing defensive positions here, and here." She pointed to positions on the map. "The weapons are being held in this storage room, accessible through the main corridor or via the ventilation system I mentioned." Elena studied the layout, noting defensive weaknesses and potential extraction routes. "What exactly are we looking for?" "Prototype tactical drones with autonomous targeting capabilities. Officially they don't exist. The program was supposedly scrapped after congressional oversight raised ethical concerns. But Black Star continued development off the books. These drones can identify and eliminate targets without human confirmation, using facial recognition and behavioral analysis. Perfect for assassinations that can't be traced back to their origins," Elena concluded. "Exactly. The buyers are a non-state group with ties to 3 different terrorist organizations. Once deployed, these weapons could be used against civilian populations, political targets, or even U.S. military personnel. And we have proof that Harrington and Winters are directly involved?" Sam nodded grimly. "The operation is codenamed Silverback. Winters personally oversees the technical specifications, while Harrington handles the buyer relationships. The money flows through a network of shell companies that Thomas has been tracking. What we need is documentation of the actual exchange. Proof that links these weapons directly to Black Star leadership." Elena processed this information, formulating a tactical approach that would achieve their objective while minimizing risk. Simply intercepting the weapons wasn't enough. They needed evidence that would withstand scrutiny and couldn't be dismissed as a rogue operation. "We need to modify the approach," she said finally. "Intercepting the weapons before the buyers arrive eliminates our chance to document the exchange. We need to let the transaction begin, secure our evidence, and then intervene." Sam looked skeptical. That significantly increases our risk exposure. Once the buyers arrive, we're outnumbered at least 3-1. Which is why we don't engage directly, Elena countered. We position surveillance devices to record the exchange, then create a diversion that forces them to abandon the weapons before the transfer is complete. The plan took shape between them with the practiced efficiency of operators who had worked together for years. Sam had already identified optimal surveillance positions. Elena contributed expertise on creating effective diversions without revealing their presence. We have 70 minutes before the buyers arrive, Elena said, checking her watch. Let's move. They descended toward the mining complex using a dried creek bed that provided cover from perimeter guards. The night had fully claimed the mountains now, and both women moved like shadows through terrain that would have been challenging for even experienced hikers. As they approached the outer buildings, Elena noticed something that heightened her concern. The security personnel were using Unit 7's own hand signals and movement protocols. Confirmation that they were indeed facing operators trained by Colonel Winters. "They're using our playbook," she whispered to Sam. "Then we'll have to improvise," Sam replied, her voice hard with determination. They reached the first security checkpoint, a guard position monitoring the approach to the main building. Elena signaled to Sam, and they executed a coordinated takedown with practiced precision. No shots fired, no alarms raised. Just 2 guards quietly neutralized and hidden without alerting the rest of the security team. Inside the perimeter, they split up, Sam moving to position surveillance devices covering the expected exchange location, while Elena prepared their diversion on the opposite side of the complex. They maintained communication through subvocal microphones that transmitted whispers as clearly as normal speech while being virtually undetectable to anyone more than a few feet away. "Surveillance in position," Sam reported 10 minutes later. "I have visual on the storage room. 6 cases marked with Black Star insignia. Definitely our targets." Elena finished setting the last of her remote-triggered devices. "Diversion ready. Timers set for your mark. Copy that." Moving to secondary position. Their plan called for them to observe the beginning of the exchange, record sufficient evidence to implicate Black Star leadership, then trigger the diversion. In the resulting confusion, they would secure both the weapons and the documentation before extracting. Elena took up position in a maintenance crawlspace overlooking the main floor of the complex. From here, she could observe the exchange while remaining hidden from even sophisticated detection equipment. Through her scope, she counted 10 Black Star operators in defensive positions around the central area where the exchange would take place. "Vehicle approaching from the access road," Sam's voice came through the comm. 3 SUVs, heavy security profile. "Our buyers have arrived." Elena checked her watch. They were early. "Confirm visual on command personnel." Negative. No sign of Harrington or Winters. That was unexpected. For an exchange this significant, Elena had anticipated at least one senior Black Star leader would be present to oversee the operation. "Something's not right," she whispered. "Why wouldn't they be here?" The answer came moments later as the lead SUV stopped at the complex entrance. The vehicle's rear door opened, and a figure emerged, tall, female, with the unmistakable bearing of someone accustomed to absolute authority. "Visual confirmation," Sam hissed. "It's Winters. She's with the buyers." Elena felt the blood drain from her face. Colonel Catherine Winters, founder of Unit 7 and their former commander, was arriving with the terrorist buyers rather than overseeing the Black Star operation. "Abort," Elena said immediately. "This isn't an exchange. It's a setup." Even as she spoke, the situation below erupted into chaos. The Black Star operators suddenly turned their weapons on each other, half the team opening fire on their colleagues without warning. The survivors immediately formed a protective cordon around the weapons cases. "What the hell?" Sam's voice was tight with confusion. Elena's tactical mind raced to process what she was seeing. Internal purge. Winters is eliminating witnesses before completing the real exchange. The surviving Black Star operators, now revealed to be Winters' loyalists, secured the area with cold efficiency, checking each body to confirm kills. Winters herself entered the building, accompanied by 4 men whose bearing and equipment marked them as elite private military contractors rather than terrorists. She's selling to someone else, Sam realized. The terrorist cell was never the real buyer. No, Elena agreed grimly. This is something else entirely. We need to abort, regroup, and reassess. Negative, Sam's voice hardened. This is our only chance to get proof. I'm proceeding with surveillance. Sam, don't. But Sam had already muted her cum. Elena watched through her scope as her friend moved with incredible stealth toward a position that would give her better angle on the conversation between Winters and the new arrivals. Below, Winters was gesturing to the weapons cases as one of her men opened the first container, revealing the sleek black drones nested in protective foam. Each was roughly the size of a dinner plate, with multiple rotors and what appeared to be advanced optical systems. Confirm payment transfer, Winters said, her voice carrying clearly through the cavernous space. One of the buyers stepped forward with a tablet. Confirmation code? Valkyrie Rising. Elena felt her blood turn to ice. Her code name, used as a transaction confirmation. This wasn't coincidence. Somehow Winters knew. They were here. Sam, it's a trap. She hissed into the cum. Abort now. Too late. Floodlights suddenly illuminated the entire complex, catching Sam in the open as she tried to retreat from her surveillance position. Within seconds, she was surrounded by armed operators who seemed to materialize from concealed positions. Winters looked up directly at Sam, a cold smile spreading across her face. Phantom, right on schedule. Her gaze swept the room, lingering on the shadows where Elena had concealed herself. And I assume Valkyrie is with you, always the loyal partner. Elena pressed herself deeper into the crawl space, mind racing through options. Direct engagement was suicide. They were outnumbered and outgunned by operators who knew their tactics. The diversion devices could provide temporary confusion, but not enough for a clean extraction. Below, Winters gestured for her men to secure Sam, who stood with the rigid posture of someone preparing for their final stand. I'm disappointed, Samantha, Winters said conversationally. I trained you better than this. Did you really think we wouldn't anticipate your moves? We've been watching you for months, feeding you just enough information to keep you motivated without revealing our true operation. Sam's voice was steel. And what operation is that? Selling American weapons technology to enemies of the state. Winters laughed, the sound echoing through the complex. Enemies? Hardly. Our buyers are private military contractors working for allied governments. The real operation, Phantom, is securing America's position in the next generation of warfare. Autonomous systems that remove human weakness from the battlefield. By selling weapons to the highest bidder, Sam spat. By ensuring these systems are deployed where they can prove their effectiveness against actual targets. Winters turned to the lead buyer. As promised, these units have been field tested in controlled environments. Once activated, they operate with 97% targeting accuracy using the parameters you provide. Elena had heard enough. Winters wasn't just selling weapons. She was selling autonomous killing machines to private military companies who would deploy them without oversight or accountability. The potential for catastrophic civilian casualties was enormous. She needed to act, but any move would reveal her position and likely get both her and Sam killed. Then she noticed something. One of the weapons cases remained slightly open, revealing not just drones, but what appeared to be control units. The drones were the weapons, but the control systems were the real prize. If she could disable or compromise those systems, the drones would be useless regardless of who possessed them. Elena keyed her remote detonator, activating only one of her diversion devices, a small electromagnetic pulse generator she had positioned near the complex's power distribution center. The resulting surge would be brief but intense enough to affect electronic systems throughout the building. The lights flickered and died as the pulse hit, plunging the complex into momentary darkness before emergency generators kicked in. In that brief window of confusion, Elena moved, not toward Sam, but toward the weapons cases. Using the crawlspace to maintain cover, she positioned herself directly above the table where the control systems were displayed. As the emergency lighting struggled to illuminate the area, she dropped silently to the floor, slipped a specialized device into the open case, and retreated back to cover, all in less than 10 seconds. The small device was a military virus delivery system designed to infect electronic control networks with undetectable malware that would render the systems unreliable or completely inoperable. It was a desperate move, but if successful, it would compromise the entire weapons system regardless of who ultimately took possession of the hardware. Secure those cases. Winters barked as the lights stabilized. And find Valkyrie. Elena triggered her remaining diversion devices, not to create an escape opportunity, but to draw attention away from what she had just done. The resulting series of small explosions and smoke deployments created precisely the chaos she needed. In the confusion, she saw Sam break free from her captors, taking down 2 of them with the hand-to-hand combat techniques that had made her legendary within Unit 7. But there were too many opponents, even as Sam fought with desperate intensity. More operators converged on her position. Elena had seconds to make an impossible choice: attempt to rescue Sam against overwhelming odds, or secure the evidence they had come for and complete the mission. The tactician in her knew the correct decision, but the friend in her rebelled against it. Valkyrie, complete the mission. Sam shouted as she was recaptured, seemingly reading Elena's thoughts. Get the evidence out. Elena's heart twisted as she watched her friend forced to her knees, weapons trained on her from all sides. Winters approached Sam slowly, saying something that didn't carry to Elena's position. Whatever it was made Sam's expression harden into pure defiance. Using the continuing chaos as cover, Elena retrieved the surveillance devices Sam had positioned earlier. They would contain footage of the entire operation, Winter's arrival, the internal purge, the weapons demonstration, everything needed to expose Blackstar and its leadership. As she prepared to extract, Elena caught Winter's voice again, now raised to be heard over the confusion. You chose the wrong side, Phantom. Unit 7 was created to protect American interests by any means necessary. That mission hasn't changed, only your understanding of what it requires. Sam's response was clear and unwavering. I swore an oath to the Constitution, not to your bank account. Winters signaled to one of her operators who stepped forward, with his weapon raised. Then you die an idealist. A waste of exceptional training. Elena couldn't watch her friend executed, mission or no mission. She triggered her final diversion, a series of flashbang grenades that would temporarily blind and disorient everyone in the main area. In the resulting chaos, she fired a grappling line across the open space and launched herself toward Sam's position. The next moments were a blur of motion and precision. Elena collided with the operator, preparing to execute Sam, sending both of them crashing to the floor. She disabled him with a strike to the throat, grabbed Sam, and used their combined momentum to roll behind a concrete pillar as gunfire erupted around them. What happened to completing the mission? Sam gasped, blood streaming from a cut above her eye. Changed my mind, Elena replied, firing suppressive shots to keep Winter's team at bay. No one gets left behind, remember? A grim smile touched Sam's lips. Just like Kabul. Let's hope this ends better. Elena activated her emergency beacon. 3 clicks on channel 2 that would bring Diego and the helicopter to their location. We have 2 minutes to reach the extraction point. Think you can make it? Sam checked her injuries with clinical detachment. Nothing vital hit. I'll manage. They moved together with the synchronization that had made Unit 7 legendary, covering each other as they fought their way toward the complex exit. Winter's voice rang out behind them, ordering her team to secure the weapons first, confirmation that Elena's sabotage attempt had been noticed. As they burst through a side door into the cold mountain air, gunfire followed them, disciplined, controlled bursts that impacted inches from their position. They sprinted toward the extraction point, using the surrounding buildings for cover. As they pushed their bodies to the limit, the sound of helicopter rotors cut through the night as Diego approached, flying without lights to minimize his visibility. Elena and Sam reached the designated landing zone just as the bell appeared over the ridge, hovering 6 feet above the ground in a textbook hot extraction position. "Go!" Elena shouted, providing covering fire as Sam scrambled aboard. Just as Elena prepared to follow, a single shot rang out, different from the others, more precise. Elena felt the impact high on her left shoulder, the force spinning her halfway around. Despite the pain that bloomed immediately, she maintained enough control to fire back at the source, a lone figure standing on the ridge overlooking the extraction zone. Through her scope, she caught a clear glimpse of Colonel Catherine Winters, rifle raised for a second shot. Elena didn't hesitate, squeezing her trigger twice in rapid succession. The distance was extreme for a handgun, but the first round forced Winters to duck, disrupting her aim. The second shot could not be tracked in the darkness. Diego dropped the helicopter lower, and Sam reached out to pull Elena aboard as gunfire intensified around them. As they lifted away from the mining complex, Elena saw Winters emerge again, watching their escape with the cold calculation that had made her both a brilliant commander and a dangerous enemy. "She'll come after us," Sam said, applying pressure to Elena's wound as Diego banked the helicopter away from the mountains. "She can't afford to let that evidence get out." Elena nodded grimly, the adrenaline beginning to fade as pain took its place. "Let her try. We're not running anymore." As the helicopter disappeared into the night sky, carrying evidence that could bring down one of the most dangerous internal threats America had ever faced, Elena felt something she hadn't experienced in 5 years, the absolute clarity of purpose that came with fighting for something larger than survival. Valkyrie wasn't just awake now, she was on the hunt. Dawn broke over the foothills as Diego's helicopter touched down at a remote cabin that served as one of Thomas's emergency safe houses. The property was situated in a densely wooded area with natural camouflage from aerial surveillance and only one access road that could be easily monitored. Elena winced as Sam finished bandaging her shoulder wound. The bullet had gone clean through, missing bone and major arteries, painful but not life-threatening if properly treated. "You're lucky," Sam said, securing the last of the medical tape. "Another inch to the right, and we'd be having a very different conversation." "Winters doesn't miss by accident," Elena replied, testing her range of motion. "She wanted me mobile. Enough to run, but compromised enough to slow me down." Diego entered from the cabin's communications room, his expression grim. "We've got problems. Military helicopters are conducting search patterns across a 30-mile radius of the mining complex. They're using thermal imaging and signal detection systems. Harrington's mobilizing everything he can," Sam concluded. "Did you contact Thomas?" "Tried. No response on any of the secure channels." Diego handed them each a satellite phone. "These are clean, one-time use. I've got a contact who can get you across the Canadian border if needed." Elena shook her head. "Running isn't an option." "Not anymore." She moved to the table where their salvaged equipment was laid out. including the surveillance devices they'd retrieved from the mining complex. We need to get this evidence to someone who can act on it immediately. Sam joined her, connecting one of the devices to a secure laptop. Even with this footage, we're facing an uphill battle. Winters and Harrington have connections throughout the military and intelligence communities. They'll claim national security exemptions, classify everything, and bury anyone who questions them. The surveillance footage began playing on the laptop screen, crystal clear images of Winters executing her own team members, demonstrating the autonomous drones, and confirming the illegal sales to private military contractors. The evidence was damning, but Sam was right. In the wrong hands, it could disappear as easily as Unit 7 had. Elena's mind raced through potential allies. Journalists would be discredited or silenced. Military channels were compromised. Intelligence agencies could be infiltrated by Black Star loyalists. They needed someone with enough authority and independence to withstand the pressure that would come from exposing a conspiracy this deeply embedded in the defense establishment. The Intelligence Oversight Committee, she said finally. Specifically, Senator Diana Reynolds. She chairs the subcommittee on special access programs and has been investigating black budget operations for years. More importantly, she has a personal vendetta against Harrington after he lied to her committee about military activities in the Balkan region. Sam looked skeptical. Can we trust a politician? We don't need to trust her motives, just her ambition. Reynolds wants to be president someday, and exposing a conspiracy like this would cement her reputation as a fearless government watchdog. Elena turned to Diego. Can you get a secure message to her office? Diego nodded. I have contacts who can arrange a meeting, but it'll take time, a day, maybe 2. We don't have 2 days, Sam countered. Once Winters realizes what we have, she burn every bridge to stop us from reaching someone like Reynolds. Elena studied the map on the cabin wall, her tactical mind assessing options. We need to split up. I'll take the evidence and make contact with Reynolds. You and Diego secure alternate transportation and establish a backup position in case things go wrong. Sam's expression hardened. No. Last time we separated, we spent 5 years thinking each other was dead. We do this together. This isn't about our personal history, Elena insisted. It's about mission tactics. One target is harder to track than 2, and if they capture one of us, the other can still complete the objective. Before Sam could respond, the cabin's perimeter alarm activated, a subtle vibration through their secure phones rather than an audible alert that might give away their position. Diego moved to the surveillance monitors. Single vehicle approaching from the access road. Military-grade SUV, darkened windows. Elena and Sam immediately shifted to defensive postures, retrieving weapons and moving to predetermined defensive positions within the cabin. Their wounds and exhaustion were forgotten in the rush of adrenaline that came with imminent threat. Wait, Diego said, zooming in on the driver. It's Thomas. Relief was tempered by caution as they watched Thomas's vehicle approach. He appeared to be alone, but after what they'd witnessed at the mining complex, trust was a luxury they couldn't afford. Keep him outside until we confirm it's not a setup, Elena instructed, positioning herself at a window with clear sight lines. To the approaching vehicle, Diego went to meet Thomas, maintaining a careful distance as the intelligence analyst emerged from his SUV. They spoke briefly before. Diego escorted him toward the cabin, maintaining a position that would allow Elena and Sam to intervene if necessary. Thomas entered with his hands visible, immediately aware of the weapons trained on him from multiple positions. Proper caution, he acknowledged. I'd be disappointed if you'd done otherwise. Where have you been? Sam demanded. We tried to contact you after the operation, covering our tracks. Thomas set his briefcase on the table. Winters activated every surveillance resource at her disposal once you escaped. I had to ensure none of them led back to my operation or this. Location. He looked between them, noting Elena's bandaged shoulder. I see the mission didn't go exactly as planned. Elena lowered her weapon, but maintained a cautious distance. It was a setup. Winters knew we were coming. She's selling the drones to private military contractors, not terrorist groups. Thomas nodded grimly. That tracks with what I've discovered. Blackstar isn't just selling weapons. They're creating a private military infrastructure beyond government oversight. The drones are just the beginning. He opened his briefcase, revealing documents and a secure tablet. After you left, I received a data packet from Michael's dead drop system. Before he was killed, he managed to infiltrate Blackstar's financial network. The weapons sales are generating capital for something much larger, a program called Sovereign. Asset. Sam moved closer, examining the documents. What is it? A network of privately controlled military resources, personnel, equipment, intelligence capabilities that can operate without congressional approval or oversight. Essentially, a shadow military answerable only to those who control it. Elena felt a chill as the full scope of Winter's betrayal became clear. She's not just selling weapons for profit. She's building an army, precisely. Thomas activated the tablet, displaying a complex network of financial transactions, personnel transfers, and equipment acquisitions. Harrington handles the political cover. Winters manages operational assets, and together, they've created a structure that exists in the spaces between official oversight mechanisms. The implications were staggering. A privatized military force with advanced weaponry, trained operators, and no accountability to democratic institutions. It was the ultimate perversion of everything Unit 7 had been created to protect. This goes beyond exposing a weapons deal, Elena said quietly. If this information is accurate, we're looking at an existential threat to civilian control of the military. Thomas nodded solemnly. Which is why your plan to contact Senator Reynolds is our best option. She has the political authority and independence to initiate a formal investigation that even Harrington can't shut down. And the evidence from the mining operation? Crucial but not sufficient. Combined with Michael's financial data, however, it presents a compelling case that can't be dismissed as a rogue operation or misinterpretation. Elena's tactical mind shifted into planning mode. How quickly can you arrange a meeting with Reynolds? She's in Denver today for a fundraising event. I've already sent a message through secure channels requesting an urgent meeting. Used a code phrase that Michael established with her office for whistleblower communications. That's too public, Sam objected. Blackstar will have surveillance on all senior committee members, especially in their home states. Which is why we won't approach directly, Thomas countered. Reynolds has a trusted aide who handles sensitive whistleblower information. We meet with the aide first, verify our intelligence, then secure a private meeting with the senator. Elena considered the plan, weighing risks against urgency. Every hour that passed increased the likelihood of Winters tracing their location or mobilizing resources to intercept them. We need to move now, she decided. Diego, how quickly can you get us to Denver? 2 hours by road. Helicopters too visible with the current search patterns. Then we drive. Sam and I will take the evidence to the meeting. Thomas, you need to stay separated from us in case this is another trap. Sam nodded agreement. And we need a backup. Plan if Reynolds is compromised or unavailable. I've prepared dossiers on 3 alternative contacts, Thomas said. A federal judge on the FISA court, the Inspector General for the Defense Department, and a senior FBI counterintelligence. Official, none has direct ties to Harrington or military intelligence. As they gathered their equipment and prepared to move, Elena felt the weight of the mission settling on her shoulders. They weren't just fighting for justice for Unit 7 anymore. They were potentially preventing a fundamental threat to American democracy itself. Diego approached her privately as The others prepared the vehicles. "You know this is likely a one-way mission," he said quietly. "Even if Reynolds acts on your information, Blackstar won't just disappear. Winters will hunt you until one of you is dead." Elena checked her weapons one final time, the familiar routine centering her thoughts. Some fights you can't walk away from, no matter the cost. Diego studied her face, seeing not the bookseller from Silverbrook, but the legendary operative, whose reputation had made even hardened Special Forces operators speak her name with respect. "It was an honor flying with you, Valkyrie," he said simply. "The honor was mine," she replied. "Take care of yourself, Diego." As they prepared to depart, Sam pulled Elena aside, her expression intense. "Before we go, there's something you should know. About Kabul, about why Unit 7 was really targeted." Elena tensed. "What about it?" "It wasn't just that we discovered Blackstar's illegal weapons program. We found something else, evidence that Winters had been personally involved in authorizing black site interrogations that resulted in the deaths of American citizens misidentified as enemy combatants." The revelation struck Elena like a physical blow. "American citizens? Are you certain?" Sam nodded grimly. 3 journalists investigating defense contractors were detained under terrorism provisions, interrogated using extreme measures, and died in custody. Their deaths were classified as enemy combatants killed during capture operations. Winters personally signed the authorization documents. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Unit 7 hadn't just stumbled onto a corrupt weapons program. They had discovered evidence of war crimes committed against American citizens by their own commander. "That's why she can't let any of us survive," Elena realized. "This goes beyond money or power. If this information becomes public, she faces criminal prosecution." "Now you understand what we're really fighting for," Sam said quietly. "This isn't just about exposing corruption. It's about justice for everyone Winters has sacrificed in her pursuit of power." The drive to Denver took place in tense silence, each woman absorbed in her own thoughts as they processed the true stakes of their mission. Elena found herself thinking of the quiet life she'd built in Silverbrook, the bookstore, the customers who had become friends, the simple pleasures she'd discovered in civilian existence. That life was gone now, sacrificed to a greater purpose, yet she felt no regret. Some causes were worth any personal cost. They arrived in Denver as evening settled over the city, lights beginning to twinkle across the metropolitan landscape. Thomas had arranged for them to meet Reynolds' aide at a public library near the downtown area, neutral ground with multiple exit routes and enough civilian presence to discourage direct action by Blackstar operatives. Elena and Sam positioned themselves strategically, Sam at a computer terminal with clear sight lines to all entrances, Elena browsing periodicals near the main desk where she could observe anyone approaching the meeting point. Both women had concealed weapons despite the public setting, unwilling to trust their safety to anonymity alone. At precisely 7 o'clock, a young woman in a conservative business suit entered the library, moving with the purposeful efficiency of a political staffer on a tight schedule. She matched the description Thomas had provided: Melissa Chambers, Reynolds' chief of staff for intelligence matters and a former Justice Department attorney specializing in national security law. Chambers followed the protocol exactly, selecting a specific book from the reference section and taking it to a reading table in the northwest corner of the building. The signal was clear. The meeting would proceed as arranged. Elena approached casually, selecting her own reference book before sitting at the same table, maintaining the appearance of a normal library patron. "Lovely evening for research," she said quietly, the agreed-upon passphrase. "Knowledge is its own reward," Chambers replied, completing the authentication. Elena slid a sealed envelope across the table. "Everything we discussed is inside, including contact protocols for verification." Chambers accepted the envelope without examining its contents. The senator is extremely concerned about the allegations presented in your initial communication. If verified, this represents one of the most significant breaches of military oversight in decades. It's worse than our initial report indicated, Elena said. We have evidence of direct involvement by senior military officials in illegal weapons sales, unauthorized lethal operations, and potentially the deaths of American citizens in black site facilities. Chambers' professional demeanor cracked slightly, revealing genuine alarm. These are extraordinary accusations against decorated military leaders. The senator will require absolute verification before proceeding. The envelope contains access codes for secure servers with video evidence, financial records, and operational documents. All can be authenticated by independent experts. I'll deliver this immediately. If the senator determines the evidence is credible, she'll want to meet personally. Chambers glanced at her watch. Given the sensitivity, that meeting would need to happen tonight, before she returns to Washington tomorrow. Elena nodded. We'll be available. The contact information is included. As Chambers prepared to leave, she hesitated. May I ask? A personal question? You can ask. The whistleblower protection team briefed me on your background, or at least what they could access of it. You had a distinguished career ahead of you. Why risk everything to expose this? Elena considered the question, thinking of all that had been lost, colleagues killed, lives destroyed, years spent in hiding. Because some principles aren't negotiable. The people behind this betrayed their oaths to protect this country. Someone has to hold them accountable. Chambers nodded thoughtfully. The senator often says that democracy depends not on systems, but on individuals willing to defend its fundamental values, whatever the personal cost. She rose to leave. If your information is verified, you've done your country a profound service. After Chambers departed, Elena returned to Sam's position. Initial contact complete. Now we wait. Sam's attention remained focused on the library entrances. We may not have much time. I've spotted the same vehicle passing the library 3 times in the past hour. Dark sedan, government plates. Could be coincidence, could be surveillance. Elena felt the familiar tension of operational awareness sharpening her senses. Let's not take chances. We moved to backup position 2 and wait for Chambers' call. They exited through separate doors, using counter-surveillance techniques to identify any potential followers before regrouping 2 blocks away. The backup position was a small coffee shop with multiple exits and a clear view of surrounding streets. Defensible if necessary, public enough to discourage direct confrontation. As they settled at a corner table, Elena noticed Sam studying her with an uncharacteristically reflective expression. What? She asked. Just thinking about choices, Sam replied. 5 years ago, I chose to let you believe I was dead because I thought it would keep you safe. I convinced myself it was the right tactical decision. But I was wrong. Not just tactically, but morally. I left you to carry a burden alone that we should have shared. Sam's eyes held a rare vulnerability. I'm sorry, V. The apology caught Elena off guard. In their years of operational partnership, personal feelings had always been secondary to mission requirements. Unit 7 training emphasized compartmentalization. Emotions were liabilities in the field. We all did what we thought was necessary. She said finally, the past is fixed. What matters is what we do now. Sam nodded, the moment of openness passing as her professional demeanor reasserted itself. Speaking of which, we have company. Elena followed her gaze to a man who had just entered the coffee shop, mid-40s, athletic build partially concealed by a well-tailored suit, moving with the controlled awareness of someone with tactical training. He ordered casually but positioned himself with clear sightlines to their table. Black Star? Elena murmured. Unlikely. His positioning is too obvious for one of Winter's operatives. More likely federal FBI or Homeland Security. The man received his coffee and, to their surprise, approached their table directly. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his tone making it clear this wasn't really a request. Elena gestured to the empty chair. Her posture relaxed while her mind calculated distances to exits and potential weapons. Free country. He sat, placing his credentials on the table where both women could see them. Special Agent Daniel Foster, FBI Counterintelligence Division. I believe you ladies have information relevant to an ongoing federal investigation. Sam's expression revealed nothing. I think you have us confused with someone else. Foster smiled thinly. Captain Valentina Martinez, call sign Valkyrie. Captain Samantha Reeves, call sign Phantom. Both formally listed as killed in action 5 years ago in Afghanistan. Yet here you are, very much alive and meeting with a senior staffer for the Intelligence Oversight Committee. Elena maintained her calm facade while internally reassessing their options. What do you want, Agent Foster? The same thing you want, evidence sufficient to bring down Blackstar and everyone involved in its operations. He leaned forward slightly. Specifically, I want the financial data that proves General Harrington and Colonel Winters have been selling classified weapons technology to unauthorized third parties. Sam's eyes narrowed. How do you know about that? Because Michael Chung was working with us before he was killed. Foster's statement landed like a bombshell. He contacted our office 3 months ago with preliminary evidence of illegal weapons sales and financial irregularities involving senior military personnel. We were building a case when he went dark. Elena and Sam exchanged a quick glance, silently evaluating this new information. It could be legitimate or an extremely sophisticated trap. If that's true, Elena said carefully, why approach us directly? Why not work through Senator Reynolds? Because Reynolds' office has been compromised, Foster replied grimly. Not the senator herself, but someone on her staff with access to whistleblower communications. We believe Blackstar has assets throughout the government monitoring for exactly the kind of evidence you're trying to deliver. The implications were chilling. If Blackstar had indeed penetrated Reynolds' office, then Chambers was either compromised or being monitored without her knowledge. Either way, their evidence and their location had potentially been exposed. Assuming we believe you, Sam said, what exactly are you proposing? A direct handoff to our counterintelligence team, bypassing normal channels. We have a secure facility 20 minutes from here where we can authenticate your evidence and take formal statements. From there, we move directly to the attorney general with sufficient cause for emergency warrants against Harrington, Winters, and anyone else implicated in your evidence. It was exactly what they needed, a direct line to federal law enforcement with the authority to act immediately. If Foster was legitimate, and if we decline, Elena asked. Foster's expression grew serious. Then you'll likely be dead before morning. Blackstar has mobilized every resource at their disposal to find you. The only reason they haven't moved against you yet is the public setting and uncertainty about what fail-safes you might have established for the evidence. As if on cue, Elena's secure phone vibrated with an incoming message. It was from Thomas, sent to both her and Sam simultaneously. Abort meeting. Chambers compromised. Multiple hostiles converging on your location. Elena's combat instincts activated instantly. Without revealing that she'd received Thomas's warning, she maintained eye contact with Foster while subtly shifting her posture to access her concealed weapon. Your offer is compelling, Agent Foster. However, we've learned to be cautious with even the most convincing presentations. She glanced casually toward the cafe windows, noting 2 dark SUVs that had just parked across the street. Perhaps we could continue this conversation somewhere more private. Foster followed her gaze, his expression revealing nothing. My vehicle is in the rear parking area. We can leave immediately. Sam stood casually, collecting her bag while positioning herself to monitor both Foster and the cafe entrances. "Lead the way." As they moved toward the rear exit, Elena caught Sam's eye and gave an almost imperceptible shake of her head. Whatever Foster's true allegiance, they couldn't risk following him to an unknown location. The moment they stepped into the dimly lit parking area, Elena made her move. "Change of plans, Agent Foster." She drew her weapon in one fluid motion, keeping it low and out of sight from casual observers, hands where I can see them. To his credit, Foster didn't appear surprised. He raised his hand slowly, maintaining a calm demeanor. "You're making a mistake. I'm not your enemy." "Maybe not," Sam said, positioning herself to cover the exit door. "But we just received confirmation that our contact was compromised. Quite a coincidence that you appeared at precisely that moment." "Not a coincidence," Foster insisted. "We've been monitoring Reynolds' communication since identifying the security breach. When Chambers received your information, we mobilized to intercept before Blackstar could reach you." Elena heard vehicles pulling into the parking area. The same SUVs she'd spotted earlier. "Tactical positions," she ordered Sam, who immediately moved to cover behind a dumpster with clear firing lines to the approaching threat. Foster glanced toward the vehicles, then back to Elena. "Those aren't my people. If you want to survive the next 5 minutes, you need to trust me." The first SUV's doors opened, revealing operators in tactical gear moving with military precision to secure the parking area. Their movements were familiar, the same disciplined approach Elena had observed in Winter's team at the mining complex. "Blackstar," she confirmed quietly. Foster slowly reached toward his ankle. "I'm going to draw my backup weapon. If I wanted to betray you, I would have done it inside." Elena allowed him to retrieve the small pistol, watching carefully as he checked the magazine. His handling of the weapon displayed professional training, but not the specialized techniques taught to Blackstar operatives. 6 hostiles visible, likely more in the second vehicle, Sam reported from her position. "Standard tactical approach, pincer movement to cut off exits." Foster moved to cover position beside Elena. "My team is 3 minutes out. We need to hold this position until they arrive." Elena made her decision based on immediate tactical necessity rather than complete trust. "Sam, verification protocol." 7. Sam immediately sent a coded message to Thomas, requesting emergency extraction and verification of Foster's identity through FBI channels. It was a calculated risk. If Foster was legitimate, his credentials would check out. If not, they were still in a defensible position with multiple escape routes. The Blackstar team had established a perimeter around the parking area and was beginning a coordinated advance toward their position. Elena recognized the tactical formation, designed to flush targets toward a predetermined kill zone where concentrated fire could eliminate them with minimal risk to the operators. "They're moving to containment positions," she told Foster. "Standard Ghost Division protocol for high-value target capture." Foster nodded grimly. "They want you alive if possible. The evidence is their primary concern." "Then let's disappoint them." Elena reached into her bag and removed a small cylindrical device, a military-grade smoke dispersal unit, modified for maximum density. "On my mark, we move to the service corridor behind the cafe. It connects to the adjacent building's maintenance area." The lead Blackstar operator had advanced to within 30 yards of their position, moving with the practiced confidence of someone who believed they had their targets cornered. Elena recognized the body language immediately. This wasn't just any operator. This was someone with specialized training. She activated the smoke device, immediately flooding the parking area with dense gray vapor that obscured visual targeting. "Move now." The 3 of them sprinted toward the service corridor as gunfire erupted behind them, controlled bursts from suppressed weapons designed to wound rather than kill. A round impacted near Elena's feet, forcing her to adjust her trajectory behind a parked car. "They're using thermal imaging," Sam called out, returning fire to provide cover. "Standard equipment won't be enough." Elena reached into her jacket and removed what appeared to be a small remote detonator. "Cover your eyes," she warned before pressing the button. The resulting blast wasn't explosive but electromagnetic. A focused EMP burst that temporarily disabled electronic equipment within a 30-foot radius. The sounds of confusion from the Black Star team confirmed its effectiveness. "That won't hold them long," Elena said as they reached the service corridor. "Their equipment has fail-safes." They moved through the narrow passage at combat speed, Foster keeping pace with the two Unit 7 operatives, despite his less specialized training. At the end of the corridor, a heavy metal door led to the adjacent building's maintenance area. Sam worked quickly to bypass the electronic lock, while Elena and Foster maintained defensive positions. Just as the door clicked open, Elena's secure phone vibrated with an incoming message from Thomas. "Foster verified, FBI counterintelligence. Extraction team en route. Coordinates follow." Elena felt a momentary relief that was immediately tempered by professional caution. Foster's credentials might be legitimate, but that didn't eliminate the possibility that he had his own agenda separate from their mission. "Your identity checks out, Agent Foster," she said as they moved through the maintenance area toward a service elevator. "But trust is earned, not verified." Foster managed a tight smile despite the tension. "Fair enough. My team will meet us at the extraction point. From there, we move directly to a secure facility where your evidence will be formally documented." The service elevator took them to a parking garage connected to a shopping complex, a location with multiple exit routes and enough civilian presence to discourage open conflict. As they emerged, Elena noticed Sam scanning their surroundings with increasing intensity. "We've got a problem," Sam said quietly. The tactical team outside wasn't standard Black Star. They were moving like Unit 7. Elena had noticed the same thing but had hoped she was mistaken. "You think Winters is deploying more Ghost Division personnel?" "I think she's activated her contingency plan. Remember our final training exercise? When we had to track and capture targets in an urban environment, using civilian infrastructure for cover." The realization hit Elena with chilling clarity. "She's deployed the reserves." Foster looked between them, confusion evident. "What reserves?" "Unit 7 wasn't just 7 operators," Elena explained as they moved through the parking garage toward the coordinates Thomas had provided. It was 7 active teams with reserve personnel trained in the same protocols, but held in separate operational silos. Plausible deniability through compartmentalization. "If Winters has activated those reserves," Sam continued, "we're facing operators with our training, our tactics, and specific protocols designed to counter our techniques." Foster processed this information with professional efficiency. "How?" "Many, potentially dozens," Elena replied grimly. "And they'll be coordinated through secure channels we helped design." They reached a service exit that opened onto a delivery area behind the shopping complex. A nondescript van was parked, exactly where Thomas's coordinates had indicated, its engine running. Elena approached cautiously, using recognition protocols established years earlier. The driver's window lowered slightly, revealing Thomas himself at the wheel. "Authentication Alpha 7 Tango," he called softly. "Response Echo 4 November." Elena replied, confirming his identity. They entered the van quickly, Foster taking the front passenger seat while Elena and Sam secured the rear compartment. The interior was equipped with communications equipment, weapons, and medical supplies, a mobile operations center prepared for exactly this scenario. Thomas pulled away from the complex, driving with the unhurried confidence of someone who belonged exactly where they were. "Foster's team is waiting at a secure location 15 miles from here. They've established a communications blackout to prevent leaks." What about Reynolds? Sam asked, checking her weapons. The senator has been moved to a secure location by her protective detail. Once they confirmed the breach in her office, they implemented isolation protocols. Thomas glanced at Foster. Your superior authorized direct intervention, Foster nodded. Assistant Director Callahan signed off personally. This operation now falls under national security provisions that allow us to bypass standard channels. We have authorization for emergency warrants against both Harrington and Winters based on the preliminary evidence Michael provided. Elena felt the first glimmer of hope since the operation began. If they could deliver their evidence directly to FBI counterintelligence with proper authorization, Blackstar's political connections would be insufficient to bury the investigation. What's our immediate objective? She asked Foster. Secure documentation of your evidence, formal statements regarding the mining complex operation, and immediate protective custody while we execute simultaneous raids on Blackstar facilities. That won't be enough, Sam interjected. Winters is too smart to leave herself exposed. She'll have contingencies for this exact scenario. Evidence destroyed, witnesses eliminated, plausible deniability established through cutouts. Foster's expression hardened. What do you suggest? Elena met Sam's eyes, seeing the same conclusion reflected there. We need to draw her out. Force her to take direct action that can't be explained away or attributed to subordinates. How? Thomas asked, his attention split between the road and the tactical discussion. By threatening the one thing she values more than her freedom, Elena said. The Sovereign Asset Program. Understanding dawned on Foster's face. You want to use yourselves as bait. Not just bait, Sam clarified. A direct challenge. Winters built her career on never leaving loose ends. 2 Ghost Division operators, publicly threatening to expose her most valuable asset, isn't something she can delegate or ignore. It's too risky, Thomas objected. Even with FBI protection, you'd be exposing yourselves to immediate threat. Elena leaned forward. It's the only way to ensure she's directly implicated. Otherwise, we get middle managers and fall guys. While she escapes to fight another day. The van fell silent as they considered the implications. What Elena was proposing violated every protocol of witness protection and evidence handling, deliberately exposing themselves to maximum danger to ensure Winters couldn't escape justice through proxies. This time, Winters couldn't quite conceal her reaction, a tightening around the eyes that confirmed Elena had struck a nerve. Sovereign Asset is a classified program authorized at the highest levels of government. It's a private military infrastructure built with misappropriated funds and operated outside constitutional authority. Elena countered. It's everything Unit 7 was created to protect against. Unaccountable power wielded without oversight or constraint. Winters' expression hardened. You've become an idealist in your retirement, Valkyrie. The world doesn't operate according to constitutional principles or ethical abstractions. It operates on power, who has it, who uses it, and who is willing to do what's necessary to maintain it. Is that your justification, that the ends justify any means? My justification is 30 years of watching political appointees and civilian oversight committees hamstring military operations based on poll numbers and election cycles. Winters' voice took on an intensity that revealed the conviction behind her actions. Sovereign Asset exists because America's enemies don't respect our legal constraints or moral hesitations. They exploit them. So you became what you claimed to be fighting against, Elena said quietly. A power structure that operates without accountability, eliminating anyone who questions its methods or motives. For a moment, something like regret crossed Winters' face. You were my finest creation, Valkyrie. The perfect balance of tactical brilliance and unwavering resolve. I never wanted you as an enemy. Then you shouldn't have betrayed everything we believed in. The moment stretched between them, teacher and student, commander and operative, now positioned on opposite sides of a moral divide that could never be bridged. "What do you really want?" Winters asked finally. "You know, I can't allow sovereign asset to be exposed, regardless of personal consequences. I want justice for Unit 7, for Michael Chun, for every operative who died because they discovered what you've become." Winters shook her head slightly. "Justice is a luxury for those who don't understand necessity. I'll offer you one opportunity. Out of respect for what you once were, stand down. Turn over whatever evidence you've collected. In return, I'll ensure you and Phantom can disappear permanently, new identities, sufficient resources, and my personal guarantee that no one will come looking for you." Elena had expected this offer, the final temptation to return to the quiet life she'd built, to walk away from a fight that might well cost her everything. For a fleeting moment, she thought of her bookstore in Silverbrook, the peace she'd found there, the future she might still have if she accepted Winter's terms. Then she thought of Michael Chun, of the Unit 7 operators who had died believing they served something greater than themselves, of the oath she had taken to protect her country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. "No," she said simply. "This ends today, with you facing consequences for what you've done." Winters sighed, genuine disappointment evident in her expression. "Then you've made your choice, Valkyrie. And I've made mine." She reached slowly into her flight suit, retrieving not a weapon, but a small device that Elena recognized immediately. A specialized communication unit used to coordinate synchronized tactical operations. "I assume you've planned for this. Conversation to be recorded," Winters said calmly. "That Foster and his FBI team are monitoring everything we say, building their case for a dramatic public prosecution." Elena said nothing, which was confirmation enough. A solid tactical approach, Winters acknowledged, but incomplete. "You see, while you were focusing on drawing me out, I was implementing contingencies you haven't considered." She activated the device, and a series of small red lights appeared on buildings surrounding their position, laser targeting indicators from multiple sniper positions. "Your FBI protection team has been neutralized," Winters continued. "Not killed, that would create unnecessary complications, but temporarily incapacitated. Agent Foster is currently unconscious, as is your friend Thomas. Even Phantom has been removed from her position. My team located her 20 minutes ago." Elena felt a cold certainty settling in her stomach. Winters had outmaneuvered them, anticipating their plan and countering with superior resources and positioning. "So here we stand," Winters said. "Exactly as you wanted, face to face with the truth between us. But the outcome isn't what you anticipated. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us."